After she left that morning, bag packed, tears streaming, promises and pleas falling on deaf ears, the silence in the house was deafening. You ever notice that? How quiet can be louder than noise? How the absence of something can take up more space than its presence ever did? I stood in the living room for I don't know how long, could have been minutes, could have been hours. Time does this weird thing after trauma. It stretches and compresses simultaneously. Seconds feel like eternities. Days disappear in a blink. Your brain can't process the magnitude of what's happened, so it just sort of stops trying. I looked around at our life, our furniture, our photos on the walls, our books on the shelves, spines pressed together like they were holding secrets. Everything was exactly where it had been yesterday, but everything was different. The context had changed, and context changes everything. That couch? We'd picked it out together, spent 3 hours arguing about fabric swatches like it mattered. Now all I could see was him sitting there, in our home, on our furniture, probably laughing about me, the fool who had no idea. Those photos? Every smile was a question mark now. Was she thinking of him when we went to that beach? Was she texting him while I was taking that picture? Was any of it real, or was I just a prop in her elaborate performance? I started taking the photos down, one by one, methodically. Not in anger, I was past anger, in necessity. I needed to dismantle the shrine to a lie. I couldn't heal in a mausoleum of false memories. Then I found it, tucked behind a frame, a receipt, hotel, downtown. Same one I'd found later in her car when I finally allowed myself to look. Date, 3 months ago. Our anniversary weekend. We'd celebrated on Saturday. She'd told me she was going to a spa day with girlfriends on Sunday. Self-care, she'd called it. Self-care was apparently the code word for infidelity. I laughed. Actually laughed. One of those hollow, broken laughs that sounds more like choking. The absurdity of it all hit me in waves. While I was planning our anniversary dinner, picking out her favorite wine, writing her a card about how grateful I was for her, she was booking a hotel room with him. The unraveling had begun. I did what you're not supposed to do. I went through everything, her laptop, her email, her social media. I became a detective in my own life, investigating a crime I already knew had been committed. But I needed to know the extent. I needed to see how deep the rot went. It went deep. There were emails. Flirty at first, then progressively more explicit. There were photos, not sent to me. There were plans, detailed, elaborate plans for a future that apparently didn't include me. They'd talked about running away together, about starting over somewhere new, about how, once she figured out how to leave, they could really begin. I wasn't a partner. I was an obstacle, a problem to be solved, a box to be checked before they could move on to their real life. And the cruelest part? She'd been stringing him along too. There were messages to her friends, the real ones, not the cover story ones, where she admitted she didn't know what she wanted, where she said she loved me but was bored, where she said he was exciting but she wasn't sure he was sustainable. I was the safe bet. He was the risk, and she was trying to have both while committing to neither. We were both marks in her con game, just playing different roles. My phone rang. My best friend Jake. He'd somehow heard through the grapevine. Small town problems. I answered. "Man, I'm coming over," he said. No preamble, no awkward condolences, just action. "I'm fine," I lied. "You're not fine. Nobody's fine after this. I'm bringing food and beer, and we're going to sit in your mess together because that's what people do." He showed up 20 minutes later. Didn't say much, just set the food down, handed me a beer, and sat. We didn't talk for the first hour, just existed in the same space. Sometimes that's all you need. Someone to witness your pain, to verify it's real. Eventually, I told him everything. The timeline, the details, the layers of deception. He listened without interrupting, without offering cheap platitudes or easy answers. When I finished, he just nodded. "You know what the hardest part is going to be?" he asked. "What?" Not taking her back. I started to protest, but he held up his hand. "Listen. In a few days, maybe a week, she's going to realize what she lost. She's going to come back with a different kind of tears, real ones. She's going to promise she's changed, that she's done the work, that this was the wake-up call she needed. And part of you, the part that remembers the good times, the part that's lonely, the part that hates change, that part is going to want to believe her. I won't. You might. And if you do, I won't judge you. Love doesn't turn off like a switch. But I need you to hear this. People don't change because they're sorry. They change because they choose to, consistently, over time. She made choices, hundreds of them, and not one of those choices protected you. Not one. His words hit harder than any of the messages I'd read, because they were true. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. And patterns don't break just because they're exposed. We sat there until 3 a.m., talking, drinking, laughing at inappropriate moments because sometimes laughter is the only response that makes sense. He told me about his divorce 5 years back. Different circumstances, same lesson. You can't love someone into being who you need them to be. You dodged a bullet, man, he said eventually. I know it doesn't feel like it now. Right now it feels like you got hit, but you didn't. You sidestepped. You got out before kids, before marriage, before you were legally bound to someone who doesn't respect you. That's not luck. That's grace. After he left, I sat in the quiet again, but it was different now, less suffocating, more spacious, like maybe there was room for something new to grow in all that emptiness. I grabbed a notebook, started writing, not for her, for me. A list of everything I'd tolerated, everything I'd excused, everything I'd minimized because I was so focused on making the relationship work that I forgot to ask if it should work. The list was long, longer than I wanted to admit. It wasn't all her fault. I played a role too. I'd made myself small. I'd ignored my instincts. I'd prioritized peace over truth. I'd become complicit in my own diminishment. You can't blame someone for walking on you if you keep lying down and calling it comfort. That night, I slept in the guest room. Couldn't face our bed, couldn't handle the ghost of us that still lived there. The guest bed was firm, uncomfortable. I didn't sleep well, but I slept honest. No more pretending, no more performing. Just me, alone with my reality, finally facing the truth I'd been running from, the unraveling hurt. God, it hurt. But underneath the pain was something unexpected. Something that felt almost like relief. The kind you feel when you stop holding your breath. When you stop waiting for the other shoe to drop because it already dropped and you survived the impact. I was broken, but I was free. And freedom, I was learning, is worth the cost of breaking.